Where's Alex at?
I was just about to say, where's our founder? Where's our founder? I posted a pin. It doesn't really have a direct link to the Discord, but it'll give you guys like a view of what's going on with the Commonwealth partnership and like kind of send you on the rabbit hole you need to go on to learn more about that stuff. So check that out up top. And then you also have access. That's Mavryk Network right there. That's the account. Give that a follow, and you should find the Discord and Telegram right there in the bio. So
Great. Okay, so first off, let's talk about let's talk about the Commonwealth partnership real quick and a few things out for people.
Perfect.
You guys got some quests going on for some quest missions for Mavryk Network. There were some issues with uploading of the missions to Commonwealth. We got that fixed. The mission for talking about RWAs and DeFi in that channel on the Mavryk Network Discord. Super simple, guys. Just ask questions, answer each other's questions, discuss it, and then we'll come along and we'll ask questions, and we'll come along and give out the ranks. Won't happen automatically, but we'll get to everyone, no problem.
I want to jump in real quick and say you don't have to this has been a common misconception, and if you go in, you ask a question, you engage a little bit, you're done if that's all you want to do to get the role, right? That's all you need to do to get the role. You don't have to stay in the Discord 24/7, day in, day out until you get the role. We're doing it manually. We're going through everybody, verifying everybody one at a time. So just have a little patience with it.
Yeah, it's also probably because we want to see the questions that you guys have come up with and answer them, write them down for our own FAQ, and kind of engage with you guys. So this way, it does take a bit more time, but then we get to everyone, and it's great.
Yes, in the FAQ, we've talked about this quite a bit, like behind the scenes, but we really are going to have one of the coolest, most in-depth FAQs for the Mavryk Network. And hopefully, with everybody engaging, I think I can say with confidence that when it comes to like RWAs, we really have like one of the strongest, most educated community. After all of this is said and done, and it's amazing to see.
Yeah, I think there's a whole range of people that are of their knowledge, which is good to see. I think we'll get everyone up to par with the rest of us. Very good. Also, shout out to Lady Pickleary and Matrix Code. Great video you guys did on the Rick and Morty from Mavryk Network. Amazing. And that little thread you guys did, loved it. The whole team was really happy with it, guys. Way to go.
Oh, that was amazing, Sam. If you got a minute, if it's on Twitter, we should find that and get it pinned up top or posted below so people can watch it. That was really cool.
I don't know how to do that.
Really cool. All right, I'll go find it in a second. In the meantime, Crypt King, welcome to the stage, man. Welcome to the stage. We're just kind of going over Commonwealth, the partnership, and what's going on with the Discord. Since this is the first space we can actually, talk about it. It's all launched now, so welcome. I'm gonna go find that video.
Wait. Tell me what's launched, because I'm sorry.
Mavryk Network.
Oh, okay. Let's go. Hell yeah. What's our next steps? What do we need to be doing as participants and everything?
There is I don't know if you were part of this, but there is the Commonwealth free VC fund that we launched with them. They kind of dragged us out of stealth. We have a partnership with some of their partners from beforehand, and they just decided, okay, we love you guys. You guys we're taking it with us. So we had to speed up everything for it. So you do those. You have a mandatory 45 missions to do, and you're in a spot on the leaderboard. The more missions you do, the more XP you gain. The higher up in the leaderboard you get, and then you get a share of the pie and of all the projects that have pitched into the free VC fund.
Okay, and then so what is 45? I missed 45. What are these 45
mandatory missions?
And what is that? Oh, missions. Got it. Yeah. Okay, good. Like quest. Okay, perfect.
Yeah. Just I believe you're in the US, so use I'll DM you how to deal with it.
Zeely, right? They use Zeely or no?
I'll send you how to deal with it. I don't want to say that as I'm endorsing this on a recorded space.
I got
Yeah.
you. I
But
got
the
you. Yeah,
Zealy
no,
question that you
exciting,
saw,
exciting.
the Zealy question, very similar. It's not Zealy, but it's similar. It's like a new thing.
Okay, I'm always ready for new things. That's what defines me. Is like I like to see what I can get my hands into. So yeah, look forward to that. Congrats on y'all moving forward, and I look forward to see how this kind of like sets out. Definitely.
Great. Alex is
Sorry, I'm trying to get him up to
might
co-host.
not be joining for a while. He is stuck in a meeting for Mavryk Network that it looks like it's very promising, guys. I'm not going to give
Let's
out the details here,
go.
but yeah.
Hey guys.
It's always good when your founder, when the founder. Oh, okay, you're here.
Yeah. Hopped out, running to another meeting, essentially with a bunch of different real estate deal makers. So it's pretty interesting for what we're going to bring to Mavryk, and it's going to be integrated as collateral for Maven. So kind of going through like how tokenization works, why real estate, yield-bearing assets, how do you give loans on chain, showing off what we built with Maven on testnet. So it's pretty interesting endeavors that I'm happily love to dive into.
Welcome, man. Yeah, so you jumped in as we were talking about kind of Commonwealth just real quick, right? And kind of just going over some of the confusion, right? A lot of the questions we've had about it in the Discord. So yeah, welcome, man. It's been an amazing. We were talking about it earlier. It's been such an amazing, let's say, last week or so. Maybe not even a week, right? And it's been definitely some of the busiest 4 days I've had, and it's like all the best problems we could have, all the best ones we could possibly muster. So it's been awesome, man, and that's a lot thanks to you, Alex, as our founder, going to these meetings and doing what you need to do. So thank you, man.
I mean, it's really my pleasure. It's something that I love to do, especially when I have to drive back all over, back and forth in Florida to speak to different. I mean, the real estate market here is just booming. So it's you gotta, it's one thing in terms of the Web3 space. It's like, oh, on-chain lending. Oh, great, that's for degens. But then there's, you gotta explain it to like the real movers and shakers of the TradeFi world, and bring them on board. So yeah, I'm happily fly around the world and drive across entire states to do so.
Oh, sorry. Mike's being bad. So what are you up to today? You can't. I don't want you to talk too much about the meeting, but give us some alpha. Like what do you got going on, Alex?
So there's a lot of real estate asset managers throughout the U.S., Europe, developed markets, at least that we're more connected to, and they take properties, they buy them. There's obviously they have like investors they syndicate these deals to, so it's a group of investors that come together. It's sort of like tokenized real world assets, but they have 10 investors, not 1,000. And then they take that property, they might renovate it, they find a tenant, they put together like a 20-year lease, and then they go and sell it to other investors. So it might be producing 10% yield when they buy it, but then they they put together like a 20-year lease, and they sell it off at like an 8% yield to essentially at a 10% yield. Let's say if it's a $10 million building, it produces $1 million a year, it's 10% yield. But if you sell it at $12+ million, it means that $1 million it brings in is really an 8% yield. So you kind of like you ensure that not only is the real estate in good condition, there's a whole bunch of different due diligence things, but then you put in essentially you put in I lost my train of thought as they're calling out to me. But you put in, you ensure that there's revenue flows off it by bringing in a tenant, and you can sell it at a slightly higher price. This is guaranteed income for the next 20 years. So, guys, I actually might need to jump off in a few minutes. I'm going to go on mute for a second.
Oh my God, let's go. Crip King, what do you think about that? 20 years of passive income.
That's exactly what I'm looking. I'm telling you, man, I'm getting excited but I'm also getting FOMO. I'm like, man, like don't like I need to make sure I do these missions. I need to make sure I told you what my goal is. I want to get early on all this stuff. So yeah, that makes me very excited, and I'm surprised at how quick this is all coming together, because we were just like a week ago talking about, like kind of like still working on it, and then y'all are already making all these great announcements. So yeah, I'm looking forward, man. Just start on these missions, and then make sure to get everything in line. But yeah, big congrats, man. Like this is moving way faster than I realized it was going to.
Oh, I would say it's moving faster than we definitely planned. We're really going now, and it's like Sam said, it's really thanks to Commonwealth pushing us to do so. And when it comes to the quests, not even all of the 45 mandatory quests have been posted, to my knowledge. So you still have time to get in there and get it all completed. I believe we have over a week left of the campaign, so definitely check it out, man. And everybody who think you might have missed out so far, you haven't. Like, get in there for sure.
Okay, real quick, just to clear it up, that mission announcement is going to be in Maven and Mavryk, or it's where do we find? Is a certain
Crypt King.
channel we need to look at?
They have a website. Go to Join Commonwealth. Their Twitter. They have a website where you can go and you log in and you can go see all the missions and do all of them. There's a whole bunch of options there. There's a whole dashboard for it and a leaderboard also. Yeah.
And is it posted in the Discord though? Like, because if I just go there, how would I know that I'm pulling up your? Is there only one mission at their website?
You'll see it.
Okay.
You'll see it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really awesome. And that being said, there's other missions on there, right? There's a couple different partners joining up with Commonwealth. So when you're done, if you're done with Mavryk missions and you're waiting for more, check out those other guys. They're also really awesome too.
Yeah, you gotta if you want to get the most of the free funds airdrop, then you need to do missions. You need to build up your XP, which includes doing Mavericks missions, but then also missions for other quests for other platforms as well. Because we're not the only project that's in the fund. I think there's 15 others. It's a total of $2.4 million. I know the guys really well from a long time before, from everything that we were building at Maven, and so it only made sense that we collaborate for everything that we're building with Mavryk. Maven launching as the flagship lending platform on the Mavryk network. So it's a lot of these meetings that we're taking now. Sorry, I had to go for a minute because they were walking out of the building. We're running off to our next meeting. But a lot of the meetings that we're having now, it's not just, everybody thinks like, oh, you need to, that's a long story on that. I'm not going to dive into those details because I got a minute. But, we want to onboard as many parts of the traditional real estate world on chain, and it requires a lot of education to the traditional real estate guys, because right now what the industry is doing is they're kind of building things out in a way that, like, the Web3 world thinks. But if you want mainstream adoption, you need to integrate the Web2 they're not even Web2. These deals are paper. This is not Web2, this is not Web1. These are paper deals for the most part. And so it's my job to bridge the analog world to the digital, and that being Web3.
Alex, before you go into meeting, how are you feeling, like, with the progress and everything? What's your personal, feeling on it?
Well, the number one feeling I got right now is jet lag and a little bit of sunburn in Miami. But the progress is great. It's a slow but steady race, but thankfully steady. And as you kind of learn through different experiences in life, slow is smooth and smooth is fast. So it's you get deals that go through, you get deals that don't go through. But the point being is the right partners and also what they bring to the table. So it's when it comes to tokenized real estate, to me, the low-hanging fruit is yield-bearing assets. So you buy a token and you just get paid directly to your non-custodial wallet. You hold that asset, it goes up in price just like real estate does all the time. Most assets on chain won't have a mortgage on them, but then that's why we've got Maven, so you can take your hotel tokens, your multifamily housing tokens, your tokenized hospitals or care centers tokens, put them into Maven as collateral, and then take a loan, which is effectively like a mortgage, except for that you got to buy it outright and then you get the mortgage afterwards.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited, man. I got some more questions, but I mean they're kind of technical, and so I know you got to go in a meeting. So did you want to say anything else before I ask Sam and Theo's those technical questions? Okay.
I'm good right now. I got a bit of a drive actually, so I'm gonna be with you guys for just a little bit
Oh,
longer.
okay. So my question earlier, somebody was asking in the Mavryk Discord. So, because like I think a lot of times when we look at these things, we're thinking NFTs, and then we think about like I can get kind of like if I lose my seed phrase. Let's say I'm brand new to the space, and I'm kind of dumb. Not saying dumb, but like lack of education, whatever. I lose my seed phrase to my security RWA. Am I thinking like NFT wrong? Like, because this is a security, so wouldn't the wallets kind of look different than, let's say, I don't know. Like I said, this is just a general question I had because I think we keep on associating everything to the way NFTs work, and I don't know if it's going to be the same with RWAs because they are a straight up security as far as that is concerned.
So after the CW campaign is over, we're going to start leaking the images of the Mavryk wallet, which include the Mavryk Pro wallet. And the Pro wallet is a non-custodial wallet that is KYC'd. So, I mean, these are securities, like you said. So you have to go through KYC. They're regulatory compliant, and yeah, you have to think of them differently. We built an RWA token contract that supports both non-fungible tokens. They're not NFTs actually. They're fungible tokens with no like decimals after them in a way. But we have fungible tokens and non-fungible tokens because different jurisdictions require different compliance rules. Some allow fractionalization of stock, some don't. So our RWA token contract supports both, but the NFT that you're thinking of, it's not, if you think about the way NFTs as art works, you buy one NFT and you own that piece of art, that one piece of art. It doesn't really work for homes because then you have to fractionalize the NFT. So you're kind of like, okay, this is just a token with extra steps, right? So the token contract represents the entire asset, and there might be a million tokens, and if you own 100,000, you own 10% of the asset. Or there are 100,000 non-fungible tokens, a million non-fungible tokens, and you can own one token full out. You can't own 1.5. So it's it's a little bit of a different take on NFTs, but it's sort of like having serialized stock. You own stock number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. If that helps you
Yeah,
understand it.
yeah, yeah. It does. I mean, the biggest thing, like you said, is because that's what I was saying is like I think we got to decouple the way we kind of look at some of this stuff because it's new it's a new introduction of, like you said, securities, different stuff like that. So yeah, that's what. Okay, so we wait to see what the Mavryk wallet looks like, but that's what I thought. I was like, I think we need to think about this a little different, but I didn't know for sure until I asked this question right now.
And that's what we're here for. As I get into a blisteringly hot black car, so I need to run the AC. So I'm not looking forward to Dubai summers. Miami is very close to being like that. But yeah, it's just a matter of we'll start showing you. We actually kind of show the RWAs as a similar fashion to how NFTs are shown. You see the image of the asset. There's a description in the metadata, and you can. Well, we should start leaking some of that, Sam. And Sam can also go into a bit of that when I'm off the call as well, or while I'm on.
I already have some plans for it.
Brilliant. So you basically you like sign into your wallet. We're building it. First stage is with seed phrases. Second stage comes out with MPC. So you just log in with your email and password, and you essentially have your investment portfolio in a non-custodial wallet. So no one can manipulate your tokens. No one can, kind of like what happened with Celsius and FTX. You never had custody of your assets. They did something with it in the back end, and you ended up getting screwed. We're building a system fully on chain as all the promises blockchain has given us, but not executed on. Theo, can you hear us?
Yeah, Theo's having some
Issue.
technical difficulties at the moment. Messaging about it. Twitter can't handle when you get a phone call when you're hosting the space. It
Bro,
screws up the whole thing. So like, yeah, he got called in the middle of the space, and now
I wanted to
he's
just
trying
go
to work
like,
that out.
Twitter can't handle the truth, but seeing how Elon Musk runs it, it definitely can.
so let me ask y'all: are y'all? Is it at the stage where we can talk like? Still have that question like, are y'all building y'all's own blockchain, or are y'all still working on that? You know, like, is that to come later on?
So that's exactly everything that we've got for the Mavryk calls. Or with Maven, it's about the DeFi lending data and how we bring that data on chain. But yes, we are building our own blockchain called the Mavryk Network. And Maven will launch as a lending, borrowing, and data like decentralized app on top of the Mavryk network. And everything we tokenize on Mavryk gets essentially those tokens, those real estate backed tokens or insurance linked security backed tokens or bond backed tokens will be available to use in Maven as collateral to borrow against. So you would take like a hotel token, put it into a vault on Maven, your dividends from the hotel get sent to the vault, right? Because technically the vault is the owner of the hotel at that point, but it's connected to your wallet, so only you control it. So that's we're vertically integrating these things with the layer one network, so that it's an easier mainstream consumer experience for buying real world assets and then also borrowing against them and then also managing your own portfolio. And that's the importance of the Mavryk network, because if you look at the RWA space right now, it's so fragmented. It's like Linux. Technically, you could build anything you want, just like on the Samsung Android. But Apple gives you this ability. Apple kind of like streamlines that for you, so it's just easier to use and easier to interoperate. And in the end of the day, you can actually be more productive because you've been giving this curated experience. And that's what we're building with the Mavryk network and Maven.
Man, y'all doing it all. Like, that's like I told you, this is what I was here for, you know. So like, I'm glad I was early, and I saw the excitement the other day in the chat, like that was going wild. Like, so no, this is it, you know. Like, so yeah, man, much congrats, and I look forward to learning, you know, all the steps, the next you know, the next journey of like where we, you know, how to be early in some stuff. But are y'all decoupling these spaces? Because you were talking about like Maverick. Are you going to do still Mondays and what, Thursdays for to kind of separate?
Yeah, we're gonna have two separate spaces. One specifically for the Maven Finance, and Maven Finance is DeFi. Then another greater one for the Mavryk network. We're just also right now taking advantage of the CW and Maven Finance's space now to do it now to kind of
Can you
monopolize on all
can
of
you
it.
tell me a little more about Commonwealth? I don't know. I haven't like I've heard of them, like, you know, just very briefly, but like, what are they? What is their caveat and stuff?
Sam, if you can answer the Commonwealth thing, I just wanted to address something that Crypt King, you said before. They're separate products. The Mavryk network is a layer one blockchain. Maven Finance is a full DAO. None of this, it's a DAO in theory, and then really the dev team controls it. No, we did the hard part in building Maven that is fully DAO controlled. Like the corporate governance of a bank basically exists for Maven, all on chain. There are separate tokens, there are separate products. Maven will live on top of the Mavryk blockchain, and the MVN token holders for Maven fully control the DAO's business model, smart contract upgrades. We built essentially on-chain corporate governance, and that is fully run, controlled, and also in terms of economic flows through the Maven token and the DAO. And then there's the Mavryk token for the Mavryk blockchain, and that's like your layer one blockchain. That's your Tezos, that's your Near, your Multiverse X, your Ethereum in a sense, where applications live on top of them. So it's you know, we're an evolution in a way, but it's we started as the finance dApp, and we had all this BD and products to bring onto a blockchain, and we said to ourselves, you know what, guys, like, if we're going to build out this entire ecosystem, we need to build out this entire consumer stack And so they're separate products, but they're related.
Sweet. That's what I like, because I know they have to be, separate products, and like that's where now none of these tokens have been available to buy at this moment. Like no DAO tokens, none of them are available, right?
Oh, we've had some private placements, obviously, but right now they're not available to the public yet. We've got quite. I don't know if Waze is talking over me, but I've got navigation stuff going on in the background. But we've got a incentivized testnet that's going to come out for the Mavryk network, and that's one way to get involved with early tokens as well. And then we've got a pretty interesting kind of like a multi-layered airdrop, incentivized testnet and airdrop that'll be happening. And then we're actually rebuilding Maven's go-to-market for the public availability of that token to match that.
Sweet. Yeah, because like I don't know if y'all are gonna do any, but like it would be cool also if y'all did like during any of these incentive times also like referrals, like I don't know if y'all are going to do referrals and stuff like that, because that would be pretty cool as well, because I've been seeing like that's like
Yeah,
yeah, go for it.
it's something that's in our that we're planning through. We are working on a whole plan for the incentivized testnet and how to really to maximize it and get many people to join and to take part in the ecosystem, help test out the economics of the chain that we're building. If you look at the protocol treasury and the liquidity mining and how that works with tokens vested and how we want that to integrate with the validators voting on it and to spread to dApps that launch on it. So we have this, we have a whole plan that we're working on, and referral codes is part of it.
Sweet. Yeah, because that's a lot of people, like for instance, like when they hear hackathons, they're like, "Oh, I'm not educated to do that." And they don't even try, and like some of those like don't even need a lot of like technical coding experience. So like it's good if you have like starter, like me being an educator, that I'm there to be able to like, "Hey guys, don't worry about like these words you hear. Go in there and just test, like." So yeah, that'll be awesome to see that come out.
And when it comes to referrals, the referrals part is about building a network of users and community that have access to the blockchain, that have access to MavenFinance, that have access to the tokenized real estate that we bring on chain. Hackathons is not for building a community of users, but rather a community of developers. And so, yes, those will be important, but it's a different element of building. And I think in my opinion, in this world, there's an overemphasis. Sam's going to kill me. There's a little bit of an overemphasis on developers a bit, and not as much an emphasis on building teams. And so these hackathons that occur, we really need to focus on them building not just technology, but technology that fits a purpose, and technology that also is packaged as an actual product. And a DAO is still a product, even if it's not centralized. But we need to be building developers with entrepreneurs, with venture capital, with graphic designers. And I think it'd be really interesting to have hackathons where it's not just, oh, cool, like we put together these smart contracts and it does X, Y, Z, but hey, we got all these graphic designers, these entrepreneurs, there's venture capital and investors there too. And you actually end up having like actual products and teams to launch those products that comes out of those hackathons. But again, that's on the dApp building side of things, where referral codes is equally as important, but on the user base side of things, who's going to end up buying these real estate backed tokens? Who's going to go deploy them as, like, let's say, as collateral into Maven and take loans? Or who's going to run satellites on Maven to control the banking platform? And that's where those referrals and incentivized testnet and that force multiplier of building a community comes into play.
Yeah, not only that, but you just said like all these different like there's different layers, right? You might not be interested in doing this, but there's that, like, so that is also, or you just do everything, and you sweep it all up, like, so that's where strategy, I love this stuff, because like strategy comes into place where it's like, what do I how much do I want to be encapsulated in all this, and then what am I going to take advantage of, and so yeah, this is the year of learning. To me, in my head, this is the year of learning new technology, new standards, new ways of how this space is moving forward. I think we're turning that corner where it's like it's going to be a different era, and how quick you catch on or hang on is going to be important. So yeah, I love all that.
I want to jump in real quick and just kind of let everybody know down below, just in case it wasn't like kind of made clear or whatever. If you have questions about Mavryk or the CW quests, or just kind of want to jump in and say hi because we're talking on Discord, but you never really get to hear our voice, send an invite. We'll bring you up.
Completely agree. Whoever wants to come up and ask a question. We're friendly. We don't bite.
And that being
Hey, Alex, did you sorry, I'm getting feedback. Did you see the PFP I made for Sam? Like he put it on, so yeah, that was the PFP I made for him.
I think that's hilarious because it kind of looks like a almost like a Brad Pitt / Blade Runner character. And I'm sure Sam is extremely happy about that because we just watched Brad Pitt. So, not Brad. We just watched Brad Pitt. That's awkward. We just watched Blade Runner with the guy from The Notebook, and I'm blanking on his name.
Ryan Gosling.
Yes. So yeah, I think that was actually pretty cool. But really, anybody down below, really, please feel free to come up, ask questions. These spaces are not just here for us to talk to you, but for us to answer questions, dive into details. Think of them as like chill, fun, laid back AMAs and discussion channels. So,
yeah, and if anybody, real quick, if anybody does RWAs is real world assets, it's the next step that we're gonna see coming around. So like, if y'all have any questions, like, don't hesitate, and there is no bad questions, so yeah, definitely come up and ask.
And we know you guys got questions because we see them all in the Discord. And that being said,
You know how it happens, right? Like the questions come once they see incentives are there, and they're like, "Oh my goodness, now I can actually make." But yeah, like any question is not a bad question, and come on up. We're excited about this. I am. I know.
That being said, we have our God who's come up to talk to us. Go right ahead, man. Jump right in if you can. I'll always get to your hands, but you don't have to use hands. You can jump in. There's just a couple of us.
I'm sorry, I'm kind of used to orders here, so I have to follow orders. So my question here is, so if you're considering assets, right? Is this going to be location based? There are places in the world, around the world, that are not so into Web3 yet, and how do you intend to onboard them into this?
Alex, gonna let you take that one.
I was just about to say, you guys have an answer. Is Alex in a meeting?
It might be. Okay. Per the different, like everywhere in the world has different regulations and laws that apply for its jurisdictions. Some of the more prominent ones are ones in the US, and there are a bunch of securities laws that we will need to abide by, and we plan on abiding by. Over time, the goal is to start in one place and then branch out, slowly but surely building adoption in those places, and then branching out to new jurisdictions, different markets. It will take time, but with this kind of thing, it's not everyone waits to see who dips their toe in first, and then they'll follow. So we just got to show that it's a model that works, and we have what it takes to show that it's a model that works. So we're going to do that, and then we'll slowly but surely the dominoes will just fall, and then we'll bring on more and more states and jurisdictions.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was going to get into, right? I mean, we can't really control the regulations of every country, right? We can just do our best we can to follow all the rules, and and another thing that even if you do follow all the rules, regulation changes constantly. So yeah, we just gotta do the best we can, one step at a time.
And I think as far as adoption is concerned, we're in, like, technology wise, we're in a copycat model, right? Where it's like, if you look at all technology, it comes out, and then it's kind of the race to zero where people are trying to copy but do it in a kind of like, the gas station across the street type model. Where, so, like, I think you show by, or you adopt by proof, meaning that if something works, then people want to get on board, like, and that's what I've saw with other models, like, and it's happening over and over for 20 years now. So I think technology's good, product's good, standards good, people want to jump on board.
Yeah, for sure. Completely. All right, God, did that answer your question? Or do you
Yeah,
want some more explainer?
yeah, it did. I know for one that this would be a challenge, but it's it's going to look like how what am I call it crypto cryptocurrencies. Um, at first, nobody really wanted it, and now that, but then gradually, people are beginning to accept it. So I definitely think yes, to take some time, but then with the adoption of crypto, I know it will help accelerate the adoption also. So yeah, I just thought maybe
Yeah,
there was a plan for that.
yeah, for sure. Also, look at it this way: like this is the perfect market to get into real world assets. The Bitcoin ETF just happened at the beginning of the year. BlackRock is intent on tokenizing half the world. I'm assuming, just from what the statements they made, they want to tokenize real world assets. That's what they think the future is. That's what we think the future is. Uh, they also, frankly, own most of the world, so they'll just push everyone to do this kind of thing. So it's the right time to do it. It's not too early. It's definitely not too late. We're in the prime time to tackle it. Yeah, we got this.
Let's go. And so, yeah, there you go. If anybody else has any questions, feel free to come up. Come up. We have about 15 minutes left of the space. Maybe a little extra depending on what Sam got going on, but we're gonna try to keep it around the 1 hour mark. So if you have any more questions, please come up. And then I wanted to touch a little bit on. Go
Theo,
ahead. Go ahead.
I just had one, like, I just wanted Sam to touch on Commonwealth a little bit, just just what,
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Basically, they're a great platform. They're offering what they call as a free VC fund. It's where users complete a bunch of missions, 45 mandatory across 15 or so projects. There are way more than 45 missions to complete, though. You compete on a leaderboard. More missions you do, the more XP, the higher you up on the leaderboard. And then that is divided up. The rewards there are divided up per different sections of the leaderboard for their airdrop of the wealth token. That then leads to a share of the earnings off of the pot of the VC fund, which is our tokens that a bunch of these different projects put in. So Mavryk put into this free VC fund some of the MVRK tokens.
Sweet, sweet, sweet. Okay, perfect. Yeah, no, that's all for me. I mean, like I said, I'm excited this week, and I'm gonna start these missions up and try to get through every single one. And yeah, I look forward to this. It's gonna be fun. Like, I'm telling you, like,
Good luck.
that's where, for me, like, even for if it's a longer mass adoption, I'm the type, like, I've always said this, and I'm the same way with NFTs and the crypto world. I want mass adoption to kind of stay. This is just my personal opinion, stay as far away as it can for now while I accumulate, right? Like, because as soon as, like, it comes, I'm probably going to be at the end of my accumulation stage because it's going to increase so high, right? Like, so just like BTC, we had like almost a year and a half to accumulate, and now everybody's like, I want it to go down so I can accumulate more, and I'm like, dude, that time's passed, kind of. Hopefully it's passed. So, like, that's the same way I look at RWAs. If I find the right ones, I'm early enough before they come, then I'm not going to have that same mistake with BTC where I'm hearing people like, I hope it dips so now I can get back in. It's like, no, I've already been playing since the start. And that's another thing for me is if I dollar cost from the start, I'm at a good thing rather than later on down the road, it hits a spike and I'm trying to like throw a big bag at it because I didn't do my due diligence the whole way through. So yeah, I have visions for everything, and my vision is like very specific on this. So I'm excited.
Oh, and let's be honest too. What we've seen tends to be a thing. Black swans do happen. I'm not a financial advisor, but from what I've seen, the lowest of the low where everybody was accumulating was actually like one of the high points of like 2018, right? So it's all a matter of perspective and where you are as a person. Are you ready to jump in? A little caveat there, right? Right, Craig King.
Yeah, definitely. But no, that's exactly right. It's like, but this is the time right now. Like it's in my head is pre-launch, right? So it's like if you are in the audience and you still have questions, these are the perfect times to jump in the discords, ask them, and start to get this education going. Because I think if you already know NFTs, you already pretty much kind of know a little bit. It's just the part of trying to like train your brain to understand that this could be just a tad bit different. So how is it going to be? And that's where, like, that's what I'm doing right now. I'm digging into not only the specifics of how this is relatable, but also how it decouples as well.
Oh, I totally agree. I mean, even for, let's say, Bitcoin specifically, the longest running one's been out since 2008. It's still a great time to get into there and ask questions if you don't know, right? It's just like it's always going to be a great time to get into a new technology. It's just always going to be, whether it's crypto, AI is another good one everybody's talking about right now. It's always just a good time to be, what do they call it, on the bleeding edge of this stuff, learning, always learning, and kind of being ahead of the curve.
Yeah, I've always said that if I can, so my philosophy is if I can learn this good enough where I can teach it to someone else, then I'm ready to start investing, like, but until I can learn this, until I'm good enough to teach it to someone else, that's my education part. So like, and that's how
For
I've
sure.
looked at every part of the space is like, okay, I find something that's interesting, I become as curious as I can be, and then I gobble up all the information on it, and then I start to talk to others about it, and then eventually I'm good enough where I can start to dip my toes in. So like, yeah, that's what I'm in, the consumption phase right now, where it's like I'm consuming as much technical knowledge I can about RWAs. So when the time happens, I'm going to be fully prepared.
Yeah, another note on RWAs, we're all still learning. We're still defining this term, I think. So if anybody says they're an expert on it, they're lying.
It's a term that's been around for a long time in the Web 2 space, but it's not really been known as real world assets because it's just their assets. In the crypto space, it's relatively new because they're like, okay, let's bring something from the real world onto the digital world. How do we do that? Okay, we're tokenizing these assets. Okay, but how do we differentiate them from digital assets and NFTs and monkey JPEGs, all that? So real world assets, because that's what they are. It's this new terminology that's to the crypto space that's coming on board, but it's something that everyone intuitively knows what it is and has known it for their whole life because they've interacted with it their whole life. It's just now going to have a tokenized form to it.
So is the word Phygital is now RWA's new word for Phygital, or is there even a little separation of those two terms in your mind as well?
What term was that? Phygital?
Yeah, have you ever? That's what they nicknamed in the NFT space between non-fungibles and fungibles. They would call fungibles Phygitals, and it was
Dude, they make up something new every week.
exactly, and it was I think it was a play on like Aragachi and stuff like that. So they started using Phygitals, but even for that, I thought what they were doing is they were I didn't like it because I never want the NFT itself to be just like the form of receipt, like, so I was at that time I saw what they were doing. What they were doing was trying to use the popularity of NFTs to kind of like do something that wasn't really good for the whole part of everything. But so like now that it's, because like this is different, when you got to, if I've got a basketball compared to a real estate property, those are not like, two things that, they still need to be decoupled, and the Phygital thing was kind of like, that's a teddy bear, so it could be a Phygital. It's like, no, there's no real value behind that unless people are trading it. But like, so yeah, I see even more of a separation where it's actually like tangible, securitized, like money makers compared to just like a what do you call, like a beanie bear, like that's just doing it because they want a receipt, and that's where I was nervous about, is people back then were trying to turn NFTs into receipts instead of just like something that keeps the value of everything else still going up behind it, because there's
Well,
a
I,
domino effect of certain things.
I think Phygitals was like a NFT that represent ownership over a physical item. It was a mashup between physical and digital, which the name Phygital, just on any human anthropological level, does not sound like a good word. But they really, it's just unappealing beyond an imaginable measure.
They kind of were RWAs though, huh? Like in their own way.
In their own way, yeah. But it's look, I think that the NFT space is interesting because there's the technology and then there's how it was used, and they're two separate items and agendas. But what I do think is that NFTs will have a, because Crypt King, you touched on this, of like a receipt. I do think that NFTs will serve a longer term purpose in the sense of a certificate of ownership over a physical item, which is kind of like, it's kind of like a receipt or a
A bond,
tokenized
right,
RWA. Well,
Alex? Like
a bond is a loan, so it's not
okay, gotcha.
it's not like a bond, but it's more like, I like to use this thing all the time because I'm a big F1 fan. So Max Verstappen. Not going to talk about the Bahrain GP because I didn't see that yet, and it was on Saturday, and I was totally expecting Sam to text me it was on Saturday.
Oh,
he didn't.
You don't want me to talk about the race?
I will
later
leave this call
with you?
so fast if you talk about the Bahrain GP right now. So
Interesting.
if Max, who typically ends up winning now in the last couple of years, he wins the Abu Dhabi GP, for example, and he's got his race-worn racing suit or his helmet, okay? And he signs his helmet, and Red Bull Racing auctions it off. So you've got this helmet, but anybody could produce a helmet, anybody could fake a signature. So how do you know that this helmet that you're buying in some random store from a sports memorabilia shop is really the one that was worn by Max and sold by the team? So you issue alongside the helmet the issuing, like the person who actually deploys the token contract for the NFT, who mints it, kind of like how the artist mints the tokens, kind of creates the tokens, is Red Bull Racing's wallet address, and they issue this NFT that represents the ownership over the helmet. And when you buy that helmet, you get the NFT as a certificate of authenticity. You see that it was issued by Red Bull, and when you go and sell it from that memorabilia shop to another buyer, and that buyer sells it to someone else 5 years later down the line, he also transfers the certificate of ownership NFT alongside with the helmet. That, I think, is a massive, massive industry in order to prevent fraud across the sports memorabilia field.
I agree, and it's also going to create some more jobs as well. I think that they're going to need to be people there. So, like, that's what I look at certain things too. Is like, do we create new, even completely new jobs? Like, and this will definitely do that. And so yeah, I agree. And like I said, I didn't want things to look at like you said, it's not a receipt, but more of a certificate of authenticity that is more of a contract. And then on those, like, you start calling these, what they actually are, smart contracts within contracts within contracts, like, then they'll look at it more as a valuable item than just, like, I hate the word receipt, like, so because people think of receipts, they think throwing things away, and it's like, no, this is the valuable part of the whole transaction, and so yeah, I love that.
Oh, even paper receipts.
These are
I don't
receipts
think
you want to
people.
keep.
Yeah, I don't think people realize paper, like how valuable a receipt is, especially in a digital world. Think about the Web 2 world and all the different things that they have done with the paper receipt. You scan them, you get points in an app, you get Amazon gift cards, you do all this stuff. The surveys on these receipts. There's a lot that has been done to this paper receipt, and that's paper. So think of all the possibilities of a digital receipt, right? It's kind of interesting when you really actually sit and think about it.
Totally agree.
Well, I also think it's interesting because, like, with it, you typically tend to get receipts on stuff that are not assets that you buy, but liabilities or products that you're purchasing. So, if you go buy on Amazon or let's say an in-person store, because that's where you get a physical receipt. If you go to Best Buy and buy a TV and you get that receipt, that's your proof of ownership that you bought that TV. But it only really matters within the period of time you have to return that item when it comes to like consumer goods, because you don't really need to prove like 3 months later, oh, this TV that's hanging on my wall is mine. Like, that's just not the world that we live in, where like that's going to come up to be contested. But on an asset, on an item that is an asset, you will need to prove that ownership. And so we typically don't tend to use receipts there, but certificates of ownership.
I'm not going to get into it too much, but I actually, I'm from a few. Everybody knows their rough areas of their neighborhood, right? And maybe proving that you own that TV 3 years after it's been on your wall, there might be some justification there. But we actually,
Well,
it's not
if that
possible
TV is
to do
taken
today.
from you, there's no real way
It's
to
not
like
possible to do
find
today.
it anyways.
Well, so one thing. There's actually things that companies have done to try to fix this actual issue, and like say the PlayStations and the Xboxes, you got to register them, right? So if something happens to it and it disappears, well, doesn't matter how many years go by, if that VIN is found at a pawn shop or something, like that's yours, that's your PlayStation. Now that's separate from the receipt, but again, think of what we could do if all this was like made better.
Well, that's because there's a last few years the production lines, supply lines, and how expensive these PlayStations and Xboxes have become. They're almost like, I mean, they are liabilities, they are a consumer good, but they've almost turned into these, like, a lot of consumer goods have turned into assets these days. And because they just don't have enough. Then there was COVID, and stuff comes out over COVID. There's not enough supply, and then you want to get your hands on a PlayStation. Everyone's like stealing them to resell. So, in a way, that consumer good is almost
Pokemon
turned
cards,
into an
guys.
asset.
Pokemon cards.
Um,
So excited for it.
yeah, Pokemon cards, though, 100%. I mean, I got a box of Pokemon cards. I got to look through. Like, we could probably, like, I don't know, tokenize my Pokemon collection, and then
we could bankroll a year of development on your Pokemon cards, probably.
Yeah, we should look through that box, Sam. But anyways, RWAs has got a question. So and we'll take that question. If anybody else wants to come up as well, please feel free.
Yep.
Let us know.
AR, go ahead, and then Alex, I got one pinned up top for you as well.
Yeah, mine is exactly a question. I was just thinking while you're talking. I think for now, maybe there's no sense of detecting when something is stolen. But I think the future, we don't know. I think in the short time, that will be able to be we'll be able to kind of like prove that maybe when something is stolen on chain or something like that, and that could happen. And then secondly, something about NFT. It's about royalty. I mean, there's something that we enjoy from royalty. So regardless of how long um, something you've created sits on the blockchain and is being distributed, you will always have royalty. Which, when you mentioned we get more jobs, so I feel like I should mention this because it's like continuous stream of earning forever. Even if you're dead.
So that's when you the first part of what you're talking about is more referring to putting the ownership of like a lot of things on chain, and that will require more so like smart devices. And there are I've personally invested into IoT platforms that do put smart devices interconnected on chain, and that's somewhere that also again dives into the whole tracking of ownership on chain for IoT devices. It could be a refrigerator or TV or whatnot. When it comes to royalties, we've actually got, I can't go into this, but when it comes to onboarding real estate into the on-chain world, we do have an incentivization mechanism for these traditional owners, which operates a bit like a time-based royalty. I will go into that stuff later, perhaps on a Mavryk call or on a joint venture Twitter space. But there there will be some forms of that. But when it comes to RWAs and royalties, there's not really royalties on RWAs because it's an asset. You buy it, you sell it, you earn dividends on it, you borrow against it, etc. The question pinned on top, if I could read this, and at the time of driving, let's see. RWA NFTs liquid. Say once I own, can I sell a percentage of NFT all on chain? So that kind of merges that NFT space. Like, let's just not assume it's an NFT for now, but the RWA tokens that you have, you'll be able to trade, lend, stake, borrow against on chain. So there's a common misconception that just because you tokenize something, that means immediate liquidity like Bitcoin. And that's a misconception that I like to dispel. There will be increased liquidity relative to let's call it, if you want to sell your house on the market and you want to put it up for $1 million, let's say, it could sit there for a while at $1 million, depending on the market conditions, where you are, etc. So but if you're trying to sell like $50,000 of it, there will be increased liquidity for that in either a DEX, which is something that we're building, or a OTC smart contract, which operates similarly to an NFT exchange, actually. So there will be increased liquidity, but that doesn't mean that you can just all of a sudden liquidate your position overnight like Bitcoin. And I think that's an inherent misunderstanding of the nature of illiquid assets. Real estate is an illiquid asset, and we have to understand that while there will be increased liquidity, it's not oh, look, I can just go sell $10 million of my building in 1 second. Eventually we'll get there, don't get me wrong, but as a growing industry, it requires, growth. It'll take a little bit of time to get to that full liquidity at every moment.
I don't know if you and Aragod realize it, but you really did just kind of break down what is different about an NFT and an RWA, and they're not the same thing, right? I think that his question and your answer to Ian's question, I think that really solidified there's a huge difference here, right? And that one of the great things about NFTs is royalties, and we'll continue to talk about that, in spaces in the future when there's more NFT stuff going on Mavryk, right? Right now we're just focusing on RWAs, which is something totally different.
Well, there's also like royalty rights. So, for example, I think the TV show Friends makes $1 or $2 billion a year in fees for reruns, and they pay those royalty fees back to the different people who own the royalty rights. And some of the I think it was like 5 actors from the show or more. Forgive me, I grew up on Seinfeld rather than Friends, but there are royalties on the rights to film and the rights to music, etc., and the artists get paid back over time, similar to how there's royalties on NFTs. So those NFT rights, those royalty rights, can be tokenized as an RWA. And so let's say, for example, you can own $10,000 worth of the royalty tokens for Friends, and every single time that income flows in for showing Friends on TV around the world would flow to those token holders. And that's and you want to talk about like liquidity for RWAs and NFTs, royalty rights, etc. The liquidity for royalties is atrociously low. You typically just end up buying it outright, holding it, and getting paid. But you want to go sell that, you got to go find an individual buyer that'll buy it. when you tokenize it, put it on chain, fractionalize the ownership of it, you can now actually sell off 5% of what you own from the royalty. And then essentially you get liquidity trading. You can provide it as like yield on a RWA DEX, which is something that we're building. I'll talk about that on the Mavryk calls. So yeah, there will be, or even talk about liquidity, use it, as a Maven call. You can take your royalty RWA tokens, put them into a vault on Maven, and then borrow against them. And it's just this crazy world of, that's another form of liquidity, but this crazy world of interoperable finance all on chain.
All right. That being said, guys, we're past the hour mark, and I just want to thank everybody. I see a lot of faces down below from the Discord, right? So thank you guys for coming out, and I really hope these spaces are helpful for you guys to just sit here, vibe, and listen to us as opposed to trying to fight in the Discord for attention, right? It's a little nicer doing it this way. So definitely keep joining in. We do it every Monday, whether it's Maven Monday, or sometimes we might do a Mavryk space. Tune in. It'll always be Monday at 5 p.m. UTC. Monday is always Maven Monday. I hope everybody has a happy Maven Monday. And yeah, with that being said, any final thoughts, guys, as I try to fix this title?
I got to jump into a meeting, but I want to say I appreciate y'all as well, because everything around the space is like, so what's the next picture we're minting or the next airdrop we're chase? And it's good to be able to point somewhere and say like, look, they're doing it the way that like kind of like the more mature investor might want to see, like, so I appreciate that. And like, I look forward to completing these missions and hearing all the updates, and congrats on moving forward, like a lot quicker than I thought y'all would. So like, that's great. And I hope y'all have a great week as well, and look forward to the next spaces.
Yeah. Thank you all for coming out. Happy to see you here. Be active in the Discord, ask us questions. Come to the next space.
Hey, one more question. Sorry, before we go. When is the next AMA?
When is the next AMA?
Next spaces.
Yeah.
Okay. So every week we have a space on Monday at 5 p.m. UTC for MavenFinance. We are working out a schedule right now for Mavryk Network to do a weekly space as well. But we'll definitely be here on Mondays. We're finding another day of the week that's best for everyone to hit the right markets for Mavryk Network.
Oh, so this can be considered as an AMA?
It's an AMA because we like hearing questions from people, but it's never defined as an AMA because we usually have content that we want to cover, but we never end up covering it because we just end up taking questions from people. I find that we like that better.
We do need to do like a proper AMA where people like line up the questions ahead of time a week before.
Correct.
These Twitter spaces, as Sam says, are, we want to cover certain topics and let's say educating the community, getting people familiar with it, etc. Because it's a chill space, right? We're not here to preach. We're here to converse, and conversations are dynamic. But we should do properly advertised AMAs where people can post their questions ahead of time. Then we go over those questions. And then we've got these spaces as well.
Yeah, when we have a whole plan for marketing and ramping up for Mavryk Network. We'll be doing a bunch of AMAs then as well.
Hey, and if y'all are looking for a third-party AMA host that isn't directly affiliated, y'all know where to find me.
Shamelessly shill yourself.
Heck yeah.
Let's go. I already got.
In case,
go ahead.
Yeah, in case you don't notice, I'm participating in the CW and competition. So there's this field in the where I need to fill in to be in attendance for an EMA. Okay, it's under quickie, so that's what I'm asking. Really, there's nothing funny.
Oh yeah, no. So I don't remember off the top of my head, but we'll have to stay tuned. I'm not sure if there's going to be any space quests off the top of my head right now, but yeah.
There's no
Sam, do you know?
There's no ability for them to track a space quest at the moment. We asked them about that, but there's issues with tracking it with the Twitter API.
So there we go. So yeah, I just encourage you guys to be here. So the reason I do these spaces, and I've been doing spaces for a long time, and it's never. Of course, I love learning about the technology and stuff. But one thing I think that's incredibly lacking in the Web3 space is a clear picture of the people behind some of the projects that people get involved with. So, my goal was to always put us front and center. Here we are talking, hanging out, get to know us as people because we're people. And I think that's you can get a huge disconnect sometimes when people are just hiding behind Twitter accounts and you never really see or hear their voice. So that's one of the biggest things is getting to know you guys and allowing you guys to get to know us. And that's why we do it weekly. And another cool thing about now that Maveryk's a whole blockchain, it's going to be a decentralized blockchain. So although we'll have our official AMAs and we'll do our official Twitter spaces and stuff, I mean, I'm really looking forward to the other ones that I hope to see start up, right? Maverick Art Week or something like that, like that people start doing other spaces, and I can't wait to start attending those. So yeah, that's just kind of a hint for you guys, right? Yeah, it's all about community right now, getting to know each other. Because we're about to go on a crazy rocket ship ride, right? Whether you right on that Maven spaceship, we're all gonna be taking a crazy ride. So let's do it together and get to know each other.
For sure, for sure.
And then with that being said, well, join us next Monday, and we'll keep you updated on more Maverick spaces. And I think that's all, folks. Goodbye now.